Hi, I'm Andrew, and welcome back to Custom Cards, where we teach you to make your own Magic the Gathering cards. Today we're talking about directional approach. Directional approach is how you come up with your idea for a card. There are two main approaches. Top-down is when you design a card or set to fit a thematic concept. For example, let's say I'm trying to build a card based on the phrase, "The early bird gets the worm." Let's make this a creature named Early Bird. Creature type should probably be bird, and let's give it some ability that's good if you start with it in your hand, hence the word early. Maybe if you start with it in your hand, you can discard it to draw a new card, and then it can have a graveyard ability which synergizes with the first ability. This design kind of feels like a phoenix, which is still a type of bird, so let's change it to that. All birds should have flying, and a phoenix seems likely to have haste. Now let's throw on some stats and cost, and we've got a card. That was an example of top-down design. We started with a thematic idea for a card, and built the mechanics around it. Now let's look at bottom-up design. That is, start with a mechanical idea, and design the theme of the card around that. Let's make a card with Haunt. I think Haunt is a mechanic with great potential, but the Guildpact team made a couple of major blunders when designing it. First of all, it works differently on creatures and non-creatures, which made it harder for players to understand how it worked. And secondly, they decided to give all creatures with Haunt an enters the battlefield effect that works the same as their Haunt trigger. Because this gives the player immediate value, they no longer have to care about Haunt because the important effect on the card is the one they've already received, which the card now has to be costed around. Let's give Haunt the treatment it deserves. To make it consistent and memorable, I think Haunt should only go on creatures. Let's make this creature both white and black to encapsulate the full power of the Orzhov Syndicate. Now we'll need some sort of interesting effect to go with the Haunt. What if, whenever the haunted creature dies, you get to return this creature to the battlefield? That's a pretty cool effect, and we can flavor it as a ghost getting sealed away and returning whenever its vessel is destroyed. Now let's give it some big scary power, but its toughness can be lower because it's fine if it dies. Lifelink is perfectly at home on a white-black creature, so let's put that on, give it a fitting name and cost, and call it a day. This is an example of bottom-up design. We started with a mechanical idea, Haunt, and built the rest of the card around that. Every card you design will come from one of these two directions, but once the card is finished, it should be hard to tell which. For example, we could have started Sealing Spirit as a top-down design for a ghost that keeps getting sealed up and released, and created its mechanics around that. Early Bird could have been designed bottom-up. Maybe we are making a set that cares about cards in your opening hand, so we create it as a phoenix that gets better when you start with it. Knowing these approaches will help you understand how to make cohesive cards. That's all for this week. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it and want to see more, like and subscribe. We'll be back next Thursday to talk about set design.